So the day comes for you to buy that M5 MacBook Pro you've been saving so hard for. You've finally managed to scrape together the necessary 1600 Imperial credits of the realm, only to get it home and find there's no charger in the box. A laptop computer with no power adapter? What kind of heresy is this? First the phones, then the iPads, and now the actual computers. And that's the sad reality facing customers here in the UK and throughout the EU. And before you viewers from outside of those areas say, "Ha, stupid EU laws, serves you right," you should know two things. Firstly, there is no EU law that requires Apple to do this. And secondly, just like the UK, which isn't subject to EU law, even if there was one, Apple will probably do this at some point in your region too. Why? Because money, that's why. The European Union has introduced the EU Common Charger Rules. It's legislation that requires all new devices sold in the EU to support USB-C charging. And this has been in force for most devices since December 2024. And from the 28th of April 2026, it will also apply to laptops. How do you charge a PC gaming laptop with high power draw over USB-C, I hear some of you say? Well, it'll still be okay to include a proprietary high output charger so long as the laptop can also charge by USB-C. One of the goals of the legislation is to uncouple the sale of the charger from the device to reduce waste. But here's the important point. The law only requires that Apple gives us the option to buy the device without the charger. It doesn't require Apple to universally remove the charger from the box. And as I said earlier, this law does not apply in the UK. The UK left the European Union and it has specifically chosen not to adopt this legislation. Apple's decision, though, has very little to do with the law and everything to do with making more money. And no doubt at the next event, we'll be forced to listen to Tim tell us how this is one of their great environmental steps. But that, of course, is not the motive. And frankly, the whole thing has the malodorous stench of malicious compliance about it. Here's what happens when you try to buy a MacBook Pro. The power adapter is now in the options list. You can choose a 70-watt charger for £59 or a 96-watt charger for £79. These are single-port chargers, by the way, and unless they've changed the design, I've noticed that they don't always provide full charging speeds on non-Apple devices. But maybe that's just me. Notice, though, how this option is greyed out. And this is the case whichever standard configuration you start with. The option to buy the charger at this point only becomes available if you upgrade another aspect of the spec. Why? There's no technical reason to limit the selection like this. I do wonder if there's a financial one though. Will some customers end up doing an upgrade that they might have otherwise been on the fence about, just because they don't understand the process or because it makes things simpler? I mean, in fairness, the charger options are there on the next page when you click Add to Bag. But why would Apple completely remove the charger by default, instead of just offering the MacBook Pro without the charger for £59 less? Well, that's pretty obvious. Profit. The charger doesn't cost Apple £59, probably costs them less than £1. So not including it makes almost no difference to the wholesale cost. So they're not going to sell you the laptop for £59 less and make less money. Effectively, this is nothing more than a price increase for those in the EU and the UK. And like I said earlier, this will come to other regions, just like it did with the iPhone. Apple was unhappy at being told by the EU that the iPhone would need to have a USB-C connector. This despite the fact that Apple was a co-designer of the USB-C connector, and they were one of the first to introduce USB-C charging on the 2015 MacBook. But of course, lightning cables and accessories were a great moneymaker for Apple. Still, Apple eventually chose to change their entire range of products over to USB-C, not just for customers in the EU, but globally. And the same was true when they removed the charger from the iPhone box. So, like it or not, customers in other regions will at some point lose the charger from the iPad box and the MacBook charger too. And it's got very little to do with EU law and everything to do with better profit margins. Now personally, I find I don't often use the Apple charger. For the reasons that I said earlier, it doesn't seem to charge all devices at the speed you'd expect it to. And of course, it's only got one port. If I'm going to carry around a charger, I want one that can fast charge any device and one that has multiple ports. So I tend to use this 160 watt UGREEN GAN charger. Now this is not a sponsor slot. I bought this one with my own money, but I am going to pop an Amazon link in the description because if you buy anything, we get a small commission at no extra cost to you. And it's a great way to support small creators, so thank you for that. And if you do buy one of these, I've found it to be absolutely excellent. So when I'm at home and when I'm traveling, I'm using this UGREEN charger for all of my devices. And when I'm at a desk, I'm generally docked with my laptop to a screen via Thunderbolt or USB-C. So my laptop is getting charged that way. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this, so the lack of charger in the box actually doesn't really make a difference to me. But I can see the environmental benefit in having one charger for multiple devices, and I can see a convenience aspect to it as well. And I quite like the idea that I get to choose my premium charger. This is not the motivation for Apple. No matter what their PR team will say, they're not focused on consumers. The way Apple has approached this and the pricing is purely profit driven. And this should come as no surprise. People tend to personify brands and corporations, which is why we end up with fanboyism and brand loyalty that is objectively daft. Apple is a corporation that is in business to make money for its shareholders. That's the priority, and it always will be. The fact that they make good products is an aside to that. I really like the products. I love the Mac. I love Mac OS. Now I do also use Windows and Linux too on a daily basis. All of these systems have their pros and cons, but overall for me, I like Mac OS the best. I like the product. I despise the corporation. Apple, your corporation has more money than many countries. You just don't need to do this. If a customer needs a charger for their new £1,600 laptop, just give it to them. Tim's pension fund is healthy enough. He won't notice if you don't get the £59 for a charging brick. And whilst we're at it, can you just stop it with the tiny SSDs? £1,600 computers should come with a minimum of 1 terabyte. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you again soon for some more geekery.